Hi, my name's Maddy. I'm one of the owners at CrossFit Ocean Grove. I wanted to get on and have a chat and talk about why we opened CrossFit Ocean Grove, why I think CrossFit's so great, and just give you a bit of an insight on what actually happens inside the gym. So CrossFit Ocean Grove has been running for 3 years now. I opened the business with my husband Jeremy and my sister Jamie and her partner Jake. I've actually been working in the fitness industry for 18 years, which is pretty crazy. I started working in a gym in Barwon Heads when I was 16, and I taught body pump, body step, spin, boxing, core, all the fads at the time in all the local gyms. I'm also a physio. I worked as a physio for 8 years before deciding to come and open a CrossFit gym. So I got into CrossFit 10 years ago. I'd done a lot of training prior. Like I said, I was into pump, step, boxing, circuits, spin, Pilates, core, all that sort of stuff. But I really wanted to try CrossFit. I'd seen it on YouTube and I thought it looked really cool. So I signed up, came to my first class, and I remember in the warm-up we were doing box jumps and I couldn't jump on the box. I was 25 at the time and I was running probably 40K a week. I thought I was pretty fit, but I realized pretty quickly I'd been training wrong. Hadn't been training speed, power, really strength properly. So I saw the challenge and I jumped on it straight away. I wanted to be able to jump on the box. I wanted to be able to squat the weight the other girls were squatting. I wanted to be able to do a pull-up. So I started training 3 times a week and I improved as I kept training. I was really focused on getting better at the movements, and I loved that CrossFit had a huge focus on what you could do rather than what your body looked like. It was all about performance. There was no mirrors in the gym. It was, can we get a bit faster? Can we get a bit stronger? Can we get better range of motion? And by doing that style of training, my body composition changed pretty quickly. I'd struggled a lot in the past with my body composition and body image. I'd been running so much and nothing really worked. But yeah, training properly in CrossFit, I saw the changes pretty quickly. And I loved the competitive aspect of it and got right into it. So we opened CrossFit Ocean Grove as we'd moved to the area, and there was no CrossFit gym in the area. We were running a gym in Mornington and we had an awesome community there that we loved to train with. So we thought, all right, let's open one up in Ocean Grove and hopefully people will come. So we've got people to train with. I knew how much it had changed my life and I knew how much it had the power to change other people's lives. So we just went straight into it 3 years ago. The reason I believe CrossFit works is because we have a massive emphasis on quality of movement and technique. If someone comes in and they can't squat below parallel, we'll work ways around it to try and get them there. They might squat to a high box to start with, a little bit lower the next week, while we're focusing on improving their hip mobility, their ankle mobility. Without being able to access good range of motion or without being able to lift with good technique, there's just no way that you can lift enough weight to elicit any change. So having the focus on the technique from the start, laying good foundations, mean that our members can start here and slowly progress as they go. We have a big focus on making sure we train all the 10 physical skills. If you're only focusing on endurance and cardiovascular fitness, then you're missing out on speed, power, agility, balance, strength, accuracy, coordination. All right, our CrossFit training focuses on all 10, and that's how you're going to improve your fitness. Our workouts are measurable, observable, and repeatable. What that means is if I decide to do 50 push-ups for time today, I need to define the movement. So I need to make sure I start with full lockout at the top and my chest touches the ground, and then I have full lockout again. I set the clock, I do 50, I record my time. If I do it again in 6 weeks, I know the movement standard, I know what my time was. That's the way it's going to be observable, measurable, and repeatable. If I do 50 push-ups for time, and sometimes I go halfway down, I get a little bit tired, I do a couple on my knees, and then I warm up at the end, I do it again, I've got no way of knowing if I've actually got any better. So we have a big focus on recording data and making sure we're improving where we were. We define all movement standards. Squat needs to be hip crease below parallel, full extension at the top. Overhead press, full extension at the top, the barbell's over the head. In saying that, maybe not everyone can get there to start with. We'll work ways to get there, but our goal is to get full range of motion for everyone. CrossFit's not just a training program, it's a way of life. We're focusing on nutrition, sleep, healthy habits outside the gym. If you can surround yourself with other people that have the same goals, then it's going to be a lot easier to make good choices. It's not just about coming in here and sweating for 45 minutes and then going and having 20 beers on the weekend and then doing it all again on Monday. It's a complete way of life. We talk about eating meat and veg, nuts and seeds, some starch, little fruit, no sugar. So that's our CrossFit prescription. We come in here, we do high intensity exercise, functional movements that are constantly varied. There's a lot of fads out there at the moment, which I would call medium intensity exercise. So that includes things like Pilates, okay, circuit training, boot camps. They're going in and they're looking at trying to sweat as much as you can for 45 minutes to an hour. So you're just moving around, constant sort of plod around, rather than being able to tap into that high intensity zone. The way we get improvements on exercise is being able to train at a high intensity. The only way you can train at a high intensity is being able to move properly. So focus on technique first and then intensity after that. We train the major lifts. So we squat, we deadlift, we press overhead, we pull. If your gym is not getting you to do these movements, then you're not going to elicit any change. Being able to teach these functional compound lifts is hard. It does require a higher skilled coach and it does require more effort. But we don't shy away from that at CrossFit Ocean Grove. We make sure all our coaches know how to coach all the major lifts. These are the lifts that are going to build muscle. We need to learn how to squat with proper technique before we can add weight to our back and then be confident to add enough weight to actually be able to elicit change in the muscle and build muscle. CrossFit, we say, is for anyone, but not everyone. We will meet you where you're at. So if you come in and you are willing to push hard and have a crack, then you're going to see some huge improvements. Yes, it will be hard, okay? We do train at a high intensity because we know we need intensity is the most important variable to be able to bring about change. If we're not hitting the high intensity or we're not lifting enough weight, then we're not going to be able to build muscle and we're not going to be able to build fitness. So yes, it will be hard, but if you are willing, you'll get a lot out of it. CrossFit's for all age groups. We have teens classes. In the teens classes, we have a huge focus on movement patterns and mobility and teaching the right technique. Teaching kids how to squat, how to deadlift, how to push up, how to pull up, makes them resilient for sport and life even. And I think it's more important than ever at the moment with a lot of kids not doing much exercise at the moment. Our teens are doing so well in here. In your 20s, 30s and 40s, I think CrossFit gives you a competitive edge that you might have lost when you stopped playing netball or football. I know for me, it definitely gave me something to be able to train towards because we have competitions. We have always looking at trying to improve our lifts or improve our workouts. So if you are in your 20s, 30s or 40s, think of it as a new hobby, great community around you and something to keep that competitive edge and keep you feeling young and moving well. And then into your 50s, 60s, 70s, probably the most important time to get into a gym. Here we do focus on functional movements. So we don't shy away from teaching people how to get on and off the ground. It's probably one of the most important things you need to learn, how to control yourself safely to the ground and how to get back up. So like I said, we might start that on a box and then slowly lowering down as people get more confident. But our goal for everyone is to try and get all the way down, all the way up, get the best range of motion as we can in all our exercises. We teach proper lifts to our people in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Their needs are just the same as ours. They need to be able to pick something off the ground. They need to be able to squat so they can get off a chair. They need to be able to press overhead so they can access something from a high cupboard. So we do all the same lifts with our older adults as what we do with everyone else. The weight is going to be lighter and the range of motion might not quite be there yet, but we don't shy away from teaching them how to lift properly and adding weight to their barbell. Bone density is a huge problem at the moment among women in their 50s, 60s, 70s. A lot of these women have come through diet culture and they've spent most of their life trying to pull their calories down and train to be skinny. But in doing that, osteoporosis is going through the roof, and we're seeing a lot of fractures in that age group. So our focus in here with women that come in that are postmenopausal is making sure they're lifting safely enough weight to put enough stress through their bones and muscles that they're actually going to be able to see some improvements. We look at doing some controlled jumping, so being able to jump to a really small box, being able to jump over a line, because this is what's going to improve bone density, not just steady state running or steady state cardio. And we talk a lot about nutrition with these people too. We're really trying to build people up, thinking about eating enough protein, enough fat, and then pulling our processed carbs down so we're not increasing our insulin and increasing the chances of developing chronic disease. But yeah, we do need to eat enough food to actually build muscle. So we need to be eating enough meat, fatty meats, not fearing fat, and going back to eating whole foods rather than trying to pull calories down. So from take-home messages for me today would be find a coach who genuinely cares and is obsessed with health, nutrition, and longevity. So not just obsessed with trying to get the best high rocks time and fueling yourself with processed carbohydrates to try and get your best time for that race. We're focusing on health and longevity, so teaching proper movements, lifting enough weight to build strength, and then a huge focus on nutrition and eating enough food to build you up so you can live a long, healthy life. Find a coach that's not scared to teach functional movements. If you have a gym that's a burpee-free zone or doesn't focus on you trying to squat below parallel, then they're doing you a disservice. You need to find someone that's willing to teach things that might be hard to start with, but you know you can progress as you keep focusing on them. Find someone that's going to be honest with you as well. I worked in the health industry for a long time, and I feel like it's easier to tell people what they want to hear. Sometimes it's hard to tell people the truth, but I think in this day and age, people need to be told the truth and told that you need to train like this. Yes, it's going to be hard, but we're going to get you there. Yes, I think you can do a push-up eventually, so we're going to start them on your toes. Maybe that means we reduce the range of motion to start with, but our goal is to get you there. And I think that's why CrossFit works so well. We've probably got 40 girls in here that can do push-ups on their toes, and I don't think there'd be much of the population in girls that can do that. We've got girls that can do 10 strict pull-ups in a row, and they didn't start like that. They started just the same as everyone else. They were doing push-ups on their knees, they were doing ring rows. But if we focus on progressive overload, you can get there and you will do things that you probably never thought you could. So yeah, if you want to come in and give it a go, follow this link.